It's one of the great things about the United States, an open invitation to American citizens to visit the most important building in the country. We're talking about the White House, but not anymore. The White House has now canceled all tours effective this weekend, saying those forced spending cuts left them no choice. Still, it has a lot of people crying foul, including Republican Senator Pat Roberts of Kansas, who's joining us now from Capitol Hill. Senator, thanks very much for coming in.
Hi, Wolf.
What's wrong with saving taxpayer money by shutting down those tours of the White House?
Not a darn thing, except it ain't going to save any money. It's the politics of perception. It lowers debate to a new lower level. I can tell you on the Senate floor, both Democrats and Republicans were shaking their heads saying, where does this end? We had the meat inspectors there for a while that were going to shut down all the packing plants and the sale barns, and ranchers couldn't figure out when to sell their cows. Then we have, at the same time, with the Department of Agriculture, two different conferences that could have been shut down. I would advise the president basically stay home for a while. Don't go around the country campaigning. Don't go golfing with two big airplanes. I think then you could save enough money with the Secret Service detail. And by the way, when I go to the White House, and I don't go often, used to, but not now, but at any rate, when I go, a lot of Marines standing there. If you got Marines, you're fine in terms of security. How does telling a Kansas high school group that they can't visit their White House, this isn't the president's White House, that they're going to close the doors for several months, and they don't even know what the sequester is going to do to the Secret Service? I really question that. It's just the politics of perception. We need serious debate on the debt and the crisis. This is not a good example. It's silly.
Because what they're saying is they really have no choice. This meat cleaver across-the-board cuts forcing everyone in the government, the executive branch, the legislative branch, to make these kinds of tough decisions. And continuing those tours of the White House was not seen, apparently, by the White House as all that important.
Well, apparently not. I would remind the president again that it belongs to the people. I would also remind everybody that the Capitol is open, and that's a pretty important place to tour. That's like a museum as well as a working place for the Congress. My doors are open. I've told the Kansas people, no charge. You can come in. We'll give you a tour of the Capitol. I'm not really cutting back any person that's going to actually do that. That's just an extra duty that we do. I really question whether the Secret Service is in that bad a shape, and I question the furlough, and I question the numbers. We're not even through with the continuing resolution that was just passed the House. We intend to give the president some authority there so that he can make decisions, or the secretaries. I would simply add just a few more golf trips, or a few less golf trips, and then the Secret Service would have enough to provide security in regards to the to the tours. Just doesn't make any sense.
Virtually the whole federal government was told here in Washington and the D.C. area today, Senator, it's a snow day. You don't have to show up for work, even though so far, and I was just looking outside, it's snowing a little bit.
Yeah, we have a
raining.
Snow day with no snow.
It was snowing a little bit.
Yeah, I know. You're from Buffalo. I'm from Kansas.
I know. Where I come from, this is considered a nice day. This is
exactly.
Not so bad. But obviously, it's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. Nobody's doing serious work today, but they're staying home.
Well, we're doing serious work. We right now have a filibuster, a live filibuster, in regards to the...
You support that filibuster?
I support the right of members to stand up who think that they have not got a full answer in regards to the Intelligence Committee. A lot of that obviously is classified. But yes, Senator Paul has some serious questions to ask, more especially about drones. And I think they have every right to voice their opinions and to try to influence opinions.
We don't often, we know filibusters in the past, they rarely speak. This is an old school kind of Mr. Smith comes to Washington kind of filibuster where they're actually filibustering. They're talking, Senator Wyden, Senator Paul, and others. You used to be a leader in the Intelligence Committee. I'm curious, do you think that the President of the United States has the authority to order a drone strike to kill an American citizen on U.S. soil?
Well, he sure as heck needs to clarify it, as opposed to the Attorney General making a very general statement. And the language of all of that is very unclear. That's up to the Intelligence Committee. I won't get into that in any detail, at least from the standpoint of what I know, but I do have a lot of respect and a lot of confidence in Senator Chambliss from Georgia and Senator Feinstein from California. They have pressed and pressed and pressed to get the White House to get a clarifying statement on the use of drones. Once we get that, I think we'll be in better shape.
I'm wondering if you agree with Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. He was here in the Situation Room the other day. He made it clear to me that in exchange for major entitlement reform, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, he would support what's called a grand bargain and include major tax reform that potentially could increase tax revenues, but you got to have a big package deal. Would you go along with that?
I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what the list is. I'm serving on the Finance Committee. All I want is to make sure that we get jurisdiction over any tax reform plan. We're having a hearing tomorrow. Now, the president's on the air every other whipstitch, blaming Republicans and say, we just want to eliminate these tax loopholes for the rich. Well, what are they? What are we talking about? He's been talking about on the campaign trail, shutting down the oil and gas industry in Kansas, shutting down agriculture, shutting down lending institutions, et cetera, with all sorts of executive orders and, regulations. In terms of tax reform and the loopholes, what are they? Where's the plan? Where's the list?
Well, would you be willing to discuss? Would you be willing to get into negotiations?
I'm always ready to get into any negotiation. I may have a very strong opinion on tax reform. I think you ought to have a light flashing at the back of the room and say, do no harm. I know numbers are important, but the policy is important as well. Yeah, we want to do that. Max Baucus, the chairman, Orrin Hatch is the ranking member. Give it to the committee that knows how to do this, instead of talking about it on the campaign trail and then coming up with no list or no plan. And also, oh, by the way, we're going to shutter the doors to any high school group or any other group that wants to come in the White House. What's that all about? It just lowers the level of debate that we must have to solve our debt and our debt and our deficit crisis.
Senator Roberts, thanks for coming back to the Situation Room. Appreciate it.
You bet. Ask me back.
I will.